If you look at 80% of recruiters being micro businesses and cost conscious, I think being able to deliver insight at scale, it's been quite hard to do that so far. So I think AI really helps us unlock that.
I think in recruitment technology, the products that are going to win the game are the ones that need the least amount of training, because training recruiters, I'm sure they won't mind me saying this, is painful. And as a leader, as a manager in a recruitment company, sometimes it's hard to establish whether you don't have the tools or whether you don't have the capability.
Firstly, I think being a founder.
Cameron Briggs and Itamar Yeshua are the minds behind Vente AI, a fast-growing RegTech company changing the way recruiters win new business. Cameron, a two-time VC-backed founder and former recruiter, now leads Venti AI as CEO, helping recruiters access smarter, automated tools to find clients and opportunities. Itamar Yeshua, COO and co-founder of Vente AI, with an MBA from Imperial Business School, brings a sharp strategic edge and a passion for tackling recruitment's biggest challenges.
Do you feel as though there is some sort of wiring or some sort of reason that founders think differently to other people?
I agree that founders are different, and I think each one will have different drives and different things that will make them really good founders.
But I think there's a common trait, and there's probably delayed gratification in it. Being a founder isn't a sexy life.
What do you think about the time that we're in for technology and AI now? And do you have any kind of predictions around where it's going? Because who knows?
One of the things I think is coming up more for me is the value that we can influence and impact is the branding stuff.
So if you focus on one or two workflows, then you can do things with AI actually really smart without spending so much money.
So give us your words of wisdom that you could maybe tell us about to help other people on the same journey.
I think the first thing is,
welcome back to Founders Stories. I hope everyone had a really awesome summer. I know I did. I'm joined by two guys today that are absolutely smashing it. They've gone from doing 9 hours of sales meetings on the road yesterday to being right here joining us on our first after summer episode of Founder Stories. So without further ado, I am delighted to welcome our double act today. We have Cam and Itamar from Venti. Hi guys.
Thanks for having us.
And it is actually the real versions of them. I feel actually one of the only people that could have probably nailed you two down to sit down for 45 minutes together in one place. It's been mad, right?
I once did a hiring video for Resume Library when I was there, and it was a really old marketing function, super scripted. And they gave me a script and I had to get it word for word for word. And scripting stuff I'm terrible with. I never did sales scripts and cold calls. I always just go with the flow. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not so good. But I did about 100 takes of that thing. And by the end of it, they've still got the video up as well. It tortures me to this day.
I did a project with Odro, and so I saw the stats around how many takes people do to make a capture. And I'm like, just get it done. It's hundreds. It's a day's work to make 1 3-minute video. And actually, when people send me sales videos, I love it when they're a bit like, ugh, and they mess up a bit. Because I'm like, I'm like, oh, I really like you. You're an actual human. It's really nice.
I think that translates to emails as well.
Yeah.
I've even tested putting spelling mistakes in emails just to prove that it's not AI.
Yeah. I know the things that we're now doing just to prove that we're not a bot.
Anti-sales, anti-AI.
Yeah. Why don't you tell everybody that has been living under a bridge somewhere, what is Venti? What are you guys building and why, more importantly?
Yeah, so Venti is high level lead generation automation for recruiters. Similar things that we are automating is spec CVs, decent candidate, don't have a home for them. We'll match the jobs on the open job market, post in the last 30 days to the skill set of that candidate, and then give the hiring managers of the people in the business to sell that candidate into. So I think the problem we're trying to solve for is that I'm an ex-recruiter. I spent hours trying to do BD, hours trying to put candidates to market, and it's painful and it doesn't really get done as much as it should. And I think if you speak to a lot of recruiters, they would love to bring candidates to the market, but they're focused on delivery, they're focused on existing customers, and it's just such a manual task. So we're trying to get more of that, some more sort of consultative candidate-led sales.
And who's doing what? What do you guys both do at Venti?
I think initially we all did everything pretty much. Octavian is obviously is on tech, but we initially did everything. I think at some point we realized we had too much things to do and we had to separate, and we kind of lean into what we do best. I think now it's kind of separated into more sales for Cameron. I'm on the customer success side of things, and Octavian is keep building. But I guess all the in-between stuff, it's all of us.
As is 3 co-founders for Venti, and has it just always been the 3 of you?
Always been the 3 of us.
So you've gone tech, customer, sales. Classic. Like somebody has to own each of those. And I suppose with your recruitment background, that was naturally going to be you, Cam.
Yeah, I like speaking to people. I'm a natural born introvert, which doesn't necessarily marry up well with sales, but I think we've moved into a part of the world where salespeople that are sort of gift of
Yeah.
the gab, outwardly sort of extroverted, I think they tend to put a few walls up. So I think I did quite well at that side of thing as well. And then Itamar and I have worked together before as well. So we know each other's styles and we get on really well from that side of things. And then, Itamar and Octavia knew each other before as well. So it was just a perfect sort of coupling of everyone there. But I think ever since we clearly defined those roles,
Yeah.
things have just massively accelerated
Yeah.
for us. And everyone's got a complete sole ownership, whereas before we would make decisions as a 3, and that would be on everything. It would be on sales, pricing, commercials. It would be on customer success, how we making sure customers get to value quick, and product as well. So that's really helped.
Cool. So before we move off Venti, let's make sure everybody because I'm conscious sometimes I understand what you guys do. Not everybody will. So let's make sure that everyone understands the value proposition here. So you've aligned yourself very much with the recruitment agency space. So you're not an HR tech tool. It's very much around agency and very topical right now. So I'm obviously still, I can't seem to get out of the recruitment industry. It keeps pulling me back in. And so I'm very embedded in that all of the time. And sales and business development and how we generate new leads and demand is absolutely top of mind for most recruitment businesses right now. So much so that most larger recruitment businesses don't even have a separate marketing tech stack to recruitment tech stack. They've merged and become one of the same. So is that been the signal for you to go, hang on a minute, the tides are changing, we're moving away from a candidate driven market into a sales driven market? Where are the gaps and how can we kind of fill them? Is that how the idea came to mind? Or if it wasn't, tell me about that moment, please.
Itamar and I probably did 200, 300 calls of recruiters, and the narrative was very similar. I mean, we knew because of being in the industry, it's a BD-focused market, but I think we wanted to go a bit deeper. So we asked people, if you had $1 left in your bank account or £1 left in your bank account, what would you spend it on? What problem would you solve? And 90% plus of the people that we interviewed mentioned business development. And I think once you've found that thread, you can start pulling at it, and so many things come out. It takes me too long to take candidates to market. I'm spending 3 hours a day trying to find job leads. I'm trying to find out that of the 500 opportunities in my market today, which are the 50 that are most likely to close or need an external agency. So that was really kind of where we started. It was doing interviews with a lot of users and
there's your first knowledge bomb right there. It's like, if you're actually thinking about starting something, that is such a good way to do it, very low cost.
Yes.
Just get out there and talk to people. And what a great question. If you had £1 right now to solve a problem, what problem would you solve? I'm totally going to use that.
The ability to speak with 200 people. So if it's almost a measure, like it's a plug you should work on. So you have an idea,
Yeah.
you want to take it to market, and you start exploring. But if you're not able to book 20 calls with potential customers, maybe it's not the right idea for you, like, to go into it. So we were able to just reach out on LinkedIn, booking 20, something per week. And then that's by itself a signal for you that it makes sense for you to go into this market.
Definitely. No one wants to spend their time talking to you guys just because you look like nice people. You must have already been onto something. You've definitely pulled at that thread, to use your terminology. You're already kind of scratching an itch that they've got, which is why they've agreed to spend their valuable time having those conversations with you. Product is Venti AI. Talk to me about the AI part. How does the product work?
Yeah, so I'll cover off sort of the front end and the back end parts, I guess, separately.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the AI that we use is operational, because Venti's right at the top of the sales funnel. And the most important thing for us is you get good leads within your market that you would work on and action and most likely to close, but you get them into the tools that orchestrate your outreach and your automations and do the rest of the part that enable you to just be a great relationship owner as a recruiter. So the AI is operational on the basis that when a job is posted, and we are collecting between 40 and 50 million jobs every month, job boards won't give you website URLs for companies that post those jobs because they want to retain job seeker traffic. And the reason and the hard part for actually mapping companies and websites, and the website is the single source of truth, is there are 10, 15 different aliases a company could be called. You could have Apple LLC, you could have Apple Inc., you could have Apple UK, US, whatever. So we're using a lot of the AI in identifying and sort of analyzing companies' likeliness and likelihood of needing external recruiters. And that's really just to combine multiple different data points and do it at scale, but also most importantly, to do it at a price that is market fit with the market. I think if you look at 80% of recruiters being micro businesses, cost conscious. I think being able to deliver insight at scale, it's been quite hard to do that so far. So I think AI really helps us unlock that.
So operationally then, let's get this straight and simplify it. As a recruiter, I can, by using Venti, I can scour the market, if you like, for open opportunities, things that are within my ICP and I could potentially work on. And I can do that at scale. Those opportunities which you gather through lots of different data points, I take it, because there's lots of different buying signals to say that a company might be hiring. Yes, they might have advertised a job, but there's stuff that they might do before they get to that point around, are they having an office move, or are they having an investment, or there's lots of different reasons why people need to hire. So you're gathering all of that information and harvesting that for a recruiter and delivering it to them in their CRM when they come in the morning. I mean, this is supposed to be a hard job for them, guys.
And finding the hiring manager, so the people they actually should contact. That's the key. And I think it's more than that, because people not in recruitment don't really or less understand it, but each agency would have their own ICP, and it could be super niche sometimes.
Yeah.
We have one of our customers, they're only looking for German companies hiring in the US. So we are able to find it. And the idea is that Venti finds relevant leads in your ICP, so it could be as niche as that example. So
And talking about niche, is that where you then say, we're really good at that, we switch off there, and then you hand over to, say, a marketing automation tool to do the outreach? Or is there anything beyond that? Are you delivering it and saying, there you go make cash? Is that kind of where you turn off?
We see a scale, really. So we have recruiters that are almost triple locked. So a single title that they're amazing for, and that's where the market is, in a single region, in a single industry. And Venti works so well for them because they have to be, if they're doing this job manually, they have so much information to scour to find out who's hiring and who they need to speak to within their market. But we also have some customers that are taking 100, 150,000 leads a month because they want to scour the entirety of the market. And that could be for labor market insights. It could be to test hypothesis around the responsiveness of certain companies based on size to outreach and how they respond to wording. So because the data is location and sector agnostic, you can do it across a whole industry if you need to.
It sounds awesome. The 20-year-old recruiter in me is like, give me a time capsule, put me back in my office at Reed and give me that and watch me fly. What have the results been? What are you getting reports from? It's quite new, right? So I'm being a bit mean, but what are you seeing as the early signs?
On average, our customers seeing revenue within 90 days. And normally it would pay 10 times sometimes on ROI. So results are good. I think it's normally, if the recruiters are good, if they know what they're doing, if they know how to do sales, then they'll see results very quickly, because Venti just enhance it and improve the processes. Because Venti, end of the day, provide data. What you feed it is what it's going to give you. So if you know what you're doing, then people see revenue. Just simplify things for them.
It's a really good point, actually. It will definitely, if you're not performing, or if you're struggling to find roles, and as a leader, as a manager in a recruitment company, sometimes it's hard to establish whether you don't have the tools or whether you don't have the capability. But what you're doing is you're stripping away the excuses. And if somebody, a good recruiter for me is somebody whose human connection skills are just on point. They're really good at winning the hearts and minds piece, very good at building trust very, very quickly. If you give somebody like that, who's an A player, this tool, arguably, they should absolutely fly. Or if you've got a great person and they've got Venti and they're still not billing, then it then gets you to dig a little bit deeper into, okay, what is our ICP? What do people think about our brand out in the market? So actually the problems that you're trying to solve in your business are the right set of problems, as opposed to just having 15 people on pips, which doesn't really help anybody at all. So I suppose there's lots of kind of buy wins for clients that are using Venti. And how long have you guys been launched now?
I think, was it September last year we launched the MVP?
First customer, in September.
Yeah, first customer September last year. And then it was January, really, actually, that we sort of accelerated. I think in between September and January, we built a lot of things because the early adopters sort of said that they would like it if we built this. But I think the thing that we missed was the validation on it. I think we built sort of a few different pipe dreams of people that wanted the platform to do slightly something different or something else. And we ended up sort of in January saying, what are we? Are we an automation tool? Are we a data provider? Are we a mixture of both? And And it was after we made that decision where we said we're going to strip back these sort of version 1 features that were sort of requests once upon a time, and just got really, really good at providing job data, hiring manager contacts, analysing the stress of recruiting teams.
So it is the data piece that you've landed on. That's what you want to be famous for.
It was best in class for job data, and then also getting it into the CRMs and the outreach orchestration tools. We've got an amazing integration with the guys at Sourcewell, Loxo, Vincere so far as well, and then we're building out a few more as we speak. So I think for us, the thing that we should be known as is just access to the top of your funnel from a BD perspective, but in less than 5 minutes a day.
I suppose that's been quite a key part of it as well, the whole kind of partnerships piece and how you fit into the ecosystem or the tech stack of any recruitment business. I don't normally stick as much on the present and the product that you're building now, but I just think your journey is particularly interesting because it's very quick and you're solving such an important problem that I'm just going to stick there just for a couple more questions. And this is a bit selfish as well because I'm currently scoping out an MVP of my own at the moment. So this is kind of a bit self-indulgent. I'd love to know more. And actually, as I network and find out more from founders in my boat, I know that this will also be useful. So I'd love to know more about that September to January phase. And how did that look from MVP to we think we've got this right to oh my goodness, like what were we doing with that, and how different does the product look in January versus September, and why?
So they were actually using it. So we sharing Google Sheet with them. The idea was we're a data provider, so if the data is good, you should be happy, regardless of the UI looks like. They were happy. I think the big change happens once we started with the one-man band, smaller agencies, which great to learn from, to work with. They're always your best advocates, they're looking for an edge and to simplify their life. So we learned a lot from them, but I think that the big jump happened once we switched and we moved up in the chain.
Yeah, the value chain.
Value chain.
Yeah.
I think that's when the big jump happens.
And what would be ICP for you guys right now then? What are we, September 25, a year later? What would be your ICP now?
ICP for us now is agencies that have a solid BD process. We've turned customers down that just haven't had a tight enough engine to feed leads into. Venti is ultimately the fuel if you're going to put it into an engine that won't run. So ICP for us is actually tech stack driven. So we have a lot of Sourcewell customers that are seeing significant value from using the platform because you can push your leads directly into a Sourcewell campaign. It takes less than 5 minutes a day, and how they used to do it before is just it's hours worth of work. So it's tech stack driven for us. So it's really Vincere, Loxo, and Sourcewell customers at the moment. We're a couple of weeks away from launching our Bullhorn and Job Adder and Mercury integrations as well.
You've been busy.
We have, yeah. Yeah, we've been busy. I think we just closed a little bit more funding as well. That's just enabled us to double down on the things that we know have worked. The integrations we've done, we've had such amazing feedback from. I think we just want to do a bit more of that within the market.
How's the whole kind of funding journey been for you?
Yeah, we came out of a venture capital accelerator actually in July, August last year with our first fund. So Antler is an early stage venture capital firm. They invested in Venti when it was just the three of us as founders with an idea.
Must be a really good idea.
Yes, it seems to be so far. And they gave us our first funds, which just allowed us to accelerate. After that, we raised 350,000 from a group of sort of angel investors as well. And actually, coming to Farringdon today was quite nice because Old Sessions House just down the road is where we had our first investor meeting, where we met who was then going to go and lead our round. To date, we've raised just shy of 800,000 so far. And that covers recruitment tech founders, exited recruiters, just some really influential and knowledgeable people in the space. So we've got a real support network around us for problems that we inevitably end up facing.
Recruitment technology vendors fall down. It tends to be because they either don't know, they've never walked in the shoes of their customer, or they've not surrounded themselves with people who know what they're doing in that space. And you've actually doubled down on both, which is probably really kind of accelerated your growth. So congratulations, guys. I actually feel quite starstruck to have you here. Don't forget about me when you're taking over the world. I'm really interested to get to know you both a little bit more. You were friends prior to founding the business. You knew each other. So let's talk about when that started. What age were you both when you don't have to give your actual age, but what point in your lives did you actually get together?
So we met on a different track tech business. I was chief of staff. Cameron was head of sales. And we just really, the chemistry was there, and we just worked really well together.
So you worked together in previous roles and just kind of gelled. And that was friendship kind of outside of work as well?
We had a few beers and we discussed we'll do something one day together. We knew it would happen at some point. We just we needed to figure out what it's actually going to be.
Yeah.
I'm always really interested in talking to founders that were friends prior to the business because, starting a new business is lots of fun in lots of ways, lots going on, but it's going to pressure on any relationship. How did you find that with the friendship? How did you kind of manage starting the new business and having differences of opinions that you didn't know you had before?
I think having worked together before in, situations where you would be stretched and stressed and I think having had that experience is really good, but also I think there are people that you just click with because you've got very similar values, you work in very similar ways. I mean, even from the first day that I met Itamar, when we started working together, I went back to my friends and I said, that Itamar guy's a really cool dude. I think it was from there, Itamar is very easy to work with. So I think when it comes to the challenges and stuff, you just have honest conversations about it. And Itamar will call me out on things that I'm not particularly good at or could be doing better at. And, it's been very healthy, which is good. Still stressful at times, but healthy.
I think also the fact that we are three and we know each other, it really helps. So I remember when we went through the accelerator thing. So one of the sessions there is basically talk about the things you're bad at and the things that going to be problems down the line. So each of us mentioned what issues could happen with us, but also we were able to to say about each other what we think could be issues. And this is right, this is wrong. So I think knowing each other and working together, that's I think the best way to do it.
100%. I think if there's anyone listening that's setting up a business with friends or other people, that would be a really good exercise for them to do. Just have that really open and honest conversation, because those things will come out through the journey, because you're so vulnerable through this journey that at some point that stuff's going to come out in the wash anyway, all of that in the basement. If you've got concerns about where somebody's weaknesses are or whatever. So actually having a session where you get that out, I think is even just kind of write it on a post-it note if it's difficult to say, and just stick it up on the wall somewhere. I think would be a really good piece of advice for people going through the journey. Itamar, tell me about you and where you kind of came from and what kind of child were you?
Are we going all the way?
Go all the way back, as far back as you're comfortable, or at least you can remember anyway. I don't think you're that old, so you don't have to go that far back.
I'm 37. I don't know. It's
You don't look,
I guess. Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I know I don't have issues with my age. To be fair, I'm happy to be whatever age. What you want me to literally go all the way? What?
What were you like at school?
To be fair, I was a very bad student. I didn't finish high school. Yeah, I didn't finish. I don't think you know it.
No, I don't know that either.
I didn't finish high school, but one of the, I guess, maybe it's a bit politics, but one of the good things about Israel, you have the army, a service, and that kind of whatever you get into, you're not getting out the same. So after that, I kind of I think was more settled.
Straightened you out.
Yeah, it straightened me a bit, and then I managed to basically finish everything I needed in high school. Went to uni. Was actually a good student in uni. Unlike high school, but my parents were super surprised that actually I managed to go to uni and everything. But uni after, so I did in uni, I did nutrition, so I'm actually a nutritionist, which I really like the theory part of it, but it's the practice is very boring. So I ended up everyone, doing sales in tech. When you're looking for money, you're looking for joining tech. Tech is cool, and that's where I ended up. Then I spent a few years working a few startups in Israel. Then at some point I was sitting with my wife in a cafe, and then I was looking at people that basically doing things they want to do in the future, and all of them were through MBA. They spoke English perfectly. And I said, okay, I need to go to do MBA. I need to do it in a place that speaks English, so outside of Israel. So I looked for basically to apply for MBAs. I went to the MBA program at Imperial. It took me, you need to do the GMAT to actually go into the MBA. So I had to do 5 times, and the sixth you can't do 6 times. So the 5 times basically the last chance basically to get into. On the 5th time I actually managed. It was stressful, but so then moved to London, did the MBA. It was really fun. I'm not recommending people to do MBA, to be fair, especially if you end up in tech companies later, but it was really cool experience. And then joined Seed Legals, doing sales at the beginning. Then I kind of changed into operations, strategy operation roles, which I think then kind of took me into a different area in startups. And I think one of the things about Seed Legals is if you're there, you want to become a founder at some point, because you're seeing so many founders, you say, I could do it 10 times better than this one. And I think at that point, I actually realized I want to do something on my own. Then I did another role. That's when in Cameron, I was chief of staff in a tech company.
What an amazing story. And it's interesting that you did the MBA, actually. It's something that a couple of other people I've spoken to have done. And there's always a differing kind of opinions over the results and the uses. But actually, it's true what you say. It's a very interesting time and you learn a lot of things that you just wouldn't know otherwise. Like there's nothing else that would teach you those things. How have you, is there anything that you have managed to apply from the MBA into the kind of world of work, or was it just a good experience?
I think it introduced you to everything, business, like the language and like, business principles, which is useful. But at the end of the day, when, you're building a startup, it's less relevant. It's very relevant if you want to go to McKinsey and be a consultant. But if you end up being a founder, it's probably less relevant. But I think you maybe some soft skills that you learn along the way that helps. I don't know. I think everything in life, takes you somewhere, right? And I guess that was, like one stop for me. But
Definitely. But you have to be the driver of that, and you strike me as somebody that's always been very much at the forefront of your own destiny. So you've made decisions like to sit there and go, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to move to a different country and I'm going to do an MBA, and then actually do it and not just say it, means that you probably have quite a high appetite for risk, or it's not something that particularly scares you, and you are very, very driven. And you strike me as somebody that if you say you're going to do something, you do it.
I always think I have high appetite for risk until I met Cameron, and then I realized I'm way below. Yeah. I mean, he's like the risk taker. And I think compared to him, I was like, I feel like less risky. But yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So Cam, where's your huge appetite for risk come from? Is that from your childhood, or is it just something that has been kind of honed over the years?
I'm still figuring this out. So I don't know if it is naivety, blind faith, but I have a very positive outlook on life. Everything's great. Nothing's a problem. And if it is a problem that I can change, I'll change it. And if I can't change it, it's not a problem worth worrying about. So I think for me, I'm happy to take, I guess, calculated risks that are reversible. For example, I wouldn't want to make a call that emptied our entire company bank account on something that was hearsay. So I think the risk has to be calculated on the basis that you have the skills and abilities to remedy the downside of it. And I think that's where I like to take risks, because there are also some things that I'm probably not as sort of, I don't have the appetite and risk on really. But I think it's just circumstantial. If there's something that it's a bet to make and I feel strongly about it, I'll be vocal. And I was saying, here are the reasons why I think it's a good risk, and then here are the downsides, and also how we can counter those downsides based on if they happen, but here's how we'll stop them from happening. So I think it is one of those. But I would say I'm probably, of the three, I'm probably the one that likes risk the most.
And I'm really interested to know kind of, you need that. You definitely need that. And you don't all be like that, because you will just be emptying the bank account. Yeah, let's do it, guys. Just like hands in the middle, just like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, you don't want to have that. But do you think that's maybe just to kind of try and identify where that came from? What was your kind of upbringing like in your family life? Was there a risk? Were you born out of a family of risk takers, or is it something that you learned later on?
So I've got amazingly supportive parents. My dad only ever worked for one company in his entire career, from 16 to 56. When he retired, he worked for British Airways. He did take risks along his journey in that path, but I think as kids we were probably isolated from the magnitude of the risks that were being taken. Like there are strikes happening, you have to decide whether you join or you don't, etc. So I don't think we were exposed to that, but I think for me it was just trying different things, but also being given from my parents the freedom to go and try these things. For example, at 14, 15, I had the #1 eBay store to sell snapbacks and hats and things on eBay. And I loved it. I'd get custom boxes made up and I had spreadsheets with profit and loss. And
Found the point, right? Keep going, keep going.
I think for me, it was once I had realized that I could do that, it then opened up a world where I could take a risk and get it wrong and still be okay. I didn't really have much to lose. I also built a job board when I was 21. I still lived at home, and the money I had to move out, I invested in building this, and that went great. And, it's all about, I guess, calculated risk that you can quantify as a good or a bad idea. I don't think I'd ever go into anything blind or certainly uneducated. So I'd say that's probably it. But also as well, I didn't even sniff at university, didn't even go to look at one. So my journey did really well at school, got decent GCSEs. I went to college and then realized they had a portal where you could buy and sell things. And I would identify the underpriced items and then relist them at a higher price. And, and that was kind of how I ultimately ended up spelling dude with my first year A-level results. It's got 2 Ds and E and a U, did business, maths and economics and something else that I clearly got the U in. I think it might have been history, relatively interesting as well, actually, but yeah, clearly not very good at it. And then the second year I sort of recovered the grades a little bit, but by that point, I think I'd done some entrepreneurial things where I liked the idea of making money and not having money, but the ability to construct it or make it. And then ultimately the education from the business, maths and economics just kind of gave me a little bit enough that I needed to kind of go down that path. And then my first job was as a recruiter, one of my first jobs.
You've basically taken the bits that you need, sacked off anything that you didn't out of your life, basically, haven't you? Which is a really good way to be. If you can be that sure and that positive about things and that really good at decision making, I think it's a fantastic skill to have. And one of my sons has just done his GCSEs, and there'll be many other parents in my boat that are kind of listening. He did all right. He did okay. But I think there's this tendency, whether it's a society thing or whatever, that almost part of you just kind of wants to push them into, well, you don't have to go to college and uni, but look at all the fun you could have if you just went and got a degree. And actually it's really refreshing to hear you say that, because he's actually at home. If you look on his desk, there's just notes and notes and notes about TikTok shops and lots of different things that he could do, and he's so business minded. And I think we really need to harness these things in our children. And that's obviously something that's happened to you, is that when you've had an idea, you've not had the door shut on that. Someone said, oh, that's really good, why don't you try it? And you know what, we'll stick a roof over your head while you're at it, and if it fails, it's not that bad. And I suppose that has really escalated into now you having a really successful business and being a really true entrepreneur as well. Like, just listening to you would absolutely tick every box for Mr. Entrepreneur.
I think probably what I did with the education side of things, I now see in hindsight, is really, really risky, because you're entrusting an 18-year-old to make life-changing decisions on what's useful to them in that present. You're just a child, right? You don't necessarily know what is best for you in that time. And so what happened was, I had an education module. I said, well, that interests me. I quite like that, and I'm going to just do that to death. And then I made an assumption on what I needed for my life at the age of 18 and kind of discounted stuff that probably would have been quite valuable to me. And I know a lot of people that have been to university and say it was the most amazing experience of their lives. And, I would do 16 hours in a office into the evening when I was 21 years old, 21 to 24. That's how I spent my early 20s. So I definitely missed out on some probably social elements, and I guess mixing with lots of different groups and types of people that I wouldn't have got that, I didn't get that because I didn't go to university. So I can now see the upside to what I probably missed out.
I am so with you on that. I had a very similar journey to you. I've worked since I was 15, full time since I was 16. And in my friend groups over the years, there's been a real mix of people like me that have always worked, and people that don't have to work because they get their allowance from their mum and dad, and people that went to uni. So you get that kind of a mix. And I always found, envy is a strong word, but I always felt when my uni friends, my friends that did the uni thing, they'd all kind of gone away and travelled as well, and done the whole Thailand and Australia and everything else, and they just seemed to have a more rounded view of certain things, or just a different way of approaching things. And I used to think, have I really missed out there? Am I ever going to do that? But my theory is that we build successful businesses and we do it when we get to like 50.
Delayed gratification.
Absolutely. So that, and it's hurtling towards me now, and I'm like, I'm so far away from traveling through Thailand. It's unbelievable, but that's still the goal. But yes, I definitely hear what you're saying there. And before we move on, I just kind of want to ask you both something that I'm really interested in, which is around the way that founders and entrepreneurs are wired. So when we talk to people, I don't know if you've listened to the podcast and listened to other guests on the podcast. I know you know one of them. We're going to come to that, but you're all so different. You're so different. You two are so different to each other. So different to each other. And I love that. I love the diversity that we see across the founder community. But there are definitely those little things, those kind of synergies. And so I'm interested just I'm not asking you to be scientific about it, but from your opinion, do you feel as though there is some sort of wiring or some sort of reason that founders think differently to other people?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think there's just the one thing, but I think there's a common trait, and there's probably delayed gratification in it. Being a founder isn't a sexy life. You are earning wages you probably started your career on, if at all. You are putting off everything you ever wanted. I've always been really into my cars. That was a real passion of mine. And I sold any cars worth anything before starting Venti to kind of, I guess, just support that journey, not to put it into Venti, but to support me and help pay for the mortgage while we were in the early stage of that business. So I think you have to be willing to give up things. And I guess Venti is the second time I've been a founder. And in both cases, I've been willing to change my life entirely to create a business. And I think that's probably what it comes down to. It's what would you give up in order to create a company? And I think the founders you speak to were probably willing to give up almost everything.
Such a great answer, Cam. Really, really true. And I think that is like what would you be willing to change? And it's not just an appetite for risk, it's an appetite for change. We know the level of wanting stuff that some people have. And I always find, I'm quite old now, so I can say this with some conviction, that I've seen and I've been around enough to see this take shape. But the people who are constantly wanting stuff end up with just stuff.
Yeah.
And they don't actually kind of build anything around that. And it's that willingness to take the pain then ends up with huge successes. And I know some people that have kind of been involved in investing in Venti in the early stages. I know some of them personally, and they've all taken a great amount of pain and are all very, very successful now. So it's like choose your hard, isn't it? It's like that's the thing. And that willingness and being okay with, okay, I'm just going to walk everywhere or get the bus or whatever for the next like 2 years, which is really painful for the greater good, when actually you're not 100% sure that it's ever going to, I think that is a real founder trait and an entrepreneurial trait.
That's probably the hardest, or not the hardest, but that's probably the trickiest bit. My wife is super smart, but I think for her working on with so much unknown, with salary and life and everything, it's very difficult. And I think as a founder, you always operate with the unknown. So you start your day one, so you need to actually work 8, 9, 10, 12 hours on something that you have no idea if it's actually going to work. It's stupid. And then you have to work with very small amount of money, with the strong conviction you're actually going to be able to raise money so you can keep going, and you're actually going to have customers. And if you just do this, you're going to have more and more customers. So you have to always work with strong conviction and with lots of unknown. I think that it's a mix of being very stupid and taking your life into something very with lots of unknown, but actually being able to operate smartly.
Maybe being stupid is one of the best skills that we could all have, right? Just being a little bit ignorant and just really, you don't kind of see that in your peripheral, because you just have the ability to.
I think actually, if everyone went into foundership, let's call it, if everyone went into foundership for an outcome, then you wouldn't have as many founders. It's a fractional percent will sell a business and make millions and have life-changing outcomes. So I think the common denominator is you have to actually almost enjoy the pain that you create for yourself in the process to be a founder. On the base, for example, I could do what I'm doing now for the next 10 years with absolutely no outcome and have a lovely time. I'd love it. I really would. I love everything that I'm doing, because you're so accountable for the decisions that you make. You can't hide behind, I don't believe in that KPI, or my colleague didn't do this, therefore I can't do this. I mean, it's so binary. It works or it doesn't.
But I think you wouldn't be able to do it if you don't believe that what you're doing actually leads you somewhere.
Yeah. So you got conviction in the idea, and because you got conviction in the idea, the pain that you're feeling doesn't really feel like pain. It just feels like, I guess, progress towards validating your convictions true, perhaps.
So, Cam, what car are you going to buy when you exit to get to pay back yourself for all the pain that you put yourself through of having to sell all your lovely cars?
You know what? So although I'm quite a risk taker, I'm also quite tight, I guess, financially astute. So I see a car as not an investment, because you get value from it in enjoyment and getting from A to B. Well, some of them are. So I've never owned a new car. My favorite ever car was a Lotus Elise Series 2. It was my childhood dream car. I've even got pictures from when I was 13, 14 years, taking pictures of them in car parks. And yeah, I think 6 years or so, I bought one and loved it, and started playing golf, so sold it for a Range Rover. That was a terrible decision. That fell apart in 12 months, lost about $8,000. But actually the Lotus, I made about £3,000 in it over a 3-year period. So
Like classic.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was sort of rare, classic. It just had the ingredients to not necessarily depreciate too much. So I think that's probably what I would do again. But if I had something like a Range Rover again, I mean, to lose £8,000 on it in a year, I could have 800 million in the bank. I still wouldn't be okay with that.
Do you think you're going to have some big moment then do you ever fantasize about having this big moment where you go and get your car and kind of pay yourself back this debt that you've created?
Not necessarily about a thing. I think I have that thought, I don't know about you, but I have the thought of, if you do end up with a big outcome, I think the thing it provides you is freedom. I quite enjoyed the fundraising process, and I thought that I was okay at it. So I think, and I've spoken to a lot of other founders in similar positions that perhaps, have struggled with it. And I've enjoyed that element of giving back. I've spoken to some people just getting into recruitment that maybe want a bit of guidance or mentorship, and I've enjoyed that part of giving back. But of course, if you've got a mortgage to pay, there's only so much giving back you can really do. So I think I sort of fantasize a little bit about generating enough freedom so you can choose how you spend your time, whether that's in a charity, whether that's on another business. So it's less about the thing, and I think it's more about the freedom that it will probably give you. But then again, I love what I'm doing, so it doesn't become too much of a dream where you ride everything on it and you benchmark yourself against the progress,
What about you, Itamar? What would be your kind of payday guilty pleasure?
Not a car for sure. I had Car Picanto, and that was my favorite car ever. I don't know. I think for me, that's probably what everyone wants, but it just get to a point when you don't actually need to work for money.
Yeah.
And then I can choose where I want to spend my time. More time with my kids, more time, like just the family. To me, that's if I get to that point where I can spend as much as I want without needing to do something else, and if I'm spending on something else, it's because I want to. That's literally the goal.
And actually takes us beautifully into the kind of future for you guys, for Venti, for any businesses that you're both young. I don't know if this is your last rodeo, probably not. You're probably going to go again at some point. So let's start with the business. It's still a young company, right? So you probably don't have a really solid nailed down exit plan in sight right now. So what does the next kind of 12 months look like for the company and for the product?
Yeah, I would say growth. We want to keep growing. We have lots of plans in terms of how the product going to shape and this is support the growth. But I think it would be, taking to the millions of ARR. That's it's as simple as that.
Just build a category leader, isn't it? It's BD's painful. Everyone wants to try and figure it out. And if you can be a category leader in that space, I think, and play nicely with other tools and other plug into certain tech stacks, I think that's the real goal. It's just to provide some genuine value for BD side of things, because it is a tough market, and you can see on demos, people are emotional about, where they were and where they are now, and they want to get back there. And so I think if you can have an impact on that, it's amazing.
And what about from a team perspective? How will the company look, do you think, this time next year?
So 3 founders. We have
1 sales, 2 on the customer support,
the rest are engineers.
Yeah.
Another salesperson would be amazing. Yeah, another salesperson, I think, is not the time now, but we will need another salesperson. I think personally on the sales side, we're very reactive. 95% plus of our business comes inbound. A lot of it is word of mouth. A lot of it is people talking about Venti in sort of networks or communities that perhaps we're not a part of. which is nice because there is just an organic feedback loop for users that want to try Venti. They hear things from other users and other customers. So
But I like the idea of staying small team, like, and using AI basically to operation just be more efficient.
I think I've definitely seen that in go-to-market teams as well. They're much leaner from a people perspective, much higher from a bit like what you do with recruiters.
Yeah.
You're allowing them to amplify the things that makes them a good recruiter. It's the same with sales, is we're taking all of the rubbish away and just allowing them to fly, and that in turn means that most of my clients need less salespeople than they did before. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's less jobs out there. The job shape has changed, and we're seeing a lot more people going into prompting AI tools and things like that. So it's been we were saying before we actually started recording, what a great time to be alive, to see all of this change in the tech landscape. I feel really fortunate to kind of be a tiny little microscopic dot in that. So I think it's really interesting. But I think demand and content and branding have never been more important to create, as you say, that kind of inbound engine, which I think if you've got a great product and you're at the market at the right time, you've nailed your ICP, everyone should be more than 50% inbound.
Yes.
Everyone. And if you're not, then I would look at why. Why is it so hard? Why are you having to do deals by twisting people's arms behind the back and forcing them to sign a proposal? It shouldn't be that hard. And if it is, it's probably for a reason. I imagine that this is not to take anything away from your sales skills, Cam, at all, but I imagine it's a relatively easy product to sell and to demonstrate the value of to companies when you show them the ROI.
I think what we're not doing is changing the way people work. So we'll go in and we'll lead, but how much time are you spending looking for leads? And if you're not looking for leads, well, how do you expect to close new customers in 3 months from now? So I think you're looking at the origin part of everything, but when you show people, there is just a clear way to do it. And also, shout out to Octavian, he's built a product that's very easy to follow, and it's easy to use. There aren't bells and whistles where you're clicking on things, wondering where things are. People can get in and out of the platform in a really short amount of time. So I think that's definitely helped. They can see themselves using it very quickly. It's a relatively simple concept to understand, but actually the mechanics of how you come to these conclusions of how likely companies would be to need or use an agency, that becomes really quite exciting.
I think in recruitment technology, the products that are going to win the game are the ones that need the least amount of training, because training recruiters, I'm sure they won't mind me saying this, is painful. Having worked in CRM for some years and trying to get adoption levels up on CRM, it is really hard. They're busy and they're online, they're doing training, and they are all on their emails or doing something completely different. They're not listening.
You just described my day-to-day literally. That's the challenge.
It's a real challenge. So the answer to that is not to pin them down and put matchsticks in their eyes and make them listen. It is to make the product really easy to adopt and train it. And also, if you think about the products that we use in our everyday lives, so I love my tech stack because it's just me. I can have the best tech stack and it still costs me like 100 quid a month because I've just one user on everything. So I've got the best of everything. But if you think about, let's think of an example like Notion, Fixer, products that people are using every single day, and actually how the hell we lived without them, I do not know. Have I ever had a training session on Fixer? No. Have I ever had a training session on Notion? No. Just pick it up and use it. So I think, and I actually think that's a little bit disjointed with a lot of recruitment technology. We've, as an industry, not really got to that point yet. So I think actually the technology that's coming into that space now should try and align itself more with the kind of everyday stuff that people are tending to use, because trying to shove it down their throats doesn't always land, as you know, Itamar, really well. You do the webinars and everything, you do what you can, but ultimately an adoption is going to be key for you guys, right? Because once the word gets out and people are adopting it and they're getting the ROI, the sky is absolutely going to be the limit. So whilst we're talking about tech, do you have any kind of predictions around how the space is going to go? Like what you obviously both love your technology. And what do you think about the time that we're in for technology and AI now? And do you have any kind of predictions around where it's going? Because who knows?
One of the things I think is coming up more for me is it's less about the AI, but I think AI is creating importance on it, and it's the importance of brand. I think it's the importance of personality. It's the importance of it's the network and the connection of relationships as well. I think AI can do all of the things that you want to automate. It can understand context and it can create things for you. But I think actually I think a moat for technical companies probably 5 years from now won't necessarily be technical. I think it'll be more the ability to execute. It'll be the ability to hit targets and build a network and a community. I guess if I saw a product from an influencer versus someone new into a space, and they both said, here's £100,000, go build a product, I think they could probably build a product quite quickly with the tools that are on the market at the moment. But I would back the influencer to execute faster because they've got a network. So I think if you look at, I don't know, an ROI perspective, I'd probably back the branding and the non-AI parts to be the valuable bits in companies in, or certainly the ones that win in a couple of years from now. So AI is cool. It'll do everything that you need it to do at the moment, and it's probably going to go into some really interesting places. But I think the value that we can influence and impact is the branding stuff. So I think that's probably where I'd make a bet.
Not agree more. I think that definitely would be where my chips go as well. Itamar, any thoughts from you on that?
That's maybe, we're a part of this journey, but I think now we'll see much more niches. Like, so if you think, sales tools, so we're a sales tool essentially. So think about, a few years ago, we have only Apollo, Zoom Info, Delasha. So very, horizontal. And I think not just in sales, but in general, you see much more vertical and sub verticals as well. So we're building just a sales tool for recruitment, just BD. So it's a recruitment tool, but sub niche within recruitment. And I think you'll see more of that, just because AI, as a small company with not lots of budget, you can't do much more. So you have to focus on a very small niche and do it really well. AI allows it, but it wouldn't allow if you try to do for everything.
Yeah.
So if you focus on, one workflow, one or two workflows, a category of data that is not massive, like job descriptions, for example, in Venti, then you can do things with AI actually really smart without spending so much money.
Let's continue on we'll come back to the knowledge bombs in just a second, because we'll close off with some words of wisdom from you both. So maybe have a think about what that's going to look like from a personal perspective. Obviously you're all still friends. Cam, I'm going to call you out now. I know that you are one half of Recruitment Technology's hottest couple right now.
Sounds like Love Island now.
So I mean, I'm really just quite interested to see how that is, because what we tend to hear is successful founders, often if they have a wife, girlfriend, partner, husband, that person is like the one that's grounded. They're like very, very sensible, very, very, and they are almost like their rock. You've got two startup founders in a couple. Like, how does that dynamic work between let's just say, for anybody that doesn't know, I am talking about Alex from RecFinder, and so you two are together. Like, what is that relation? I'd love to be a fly on the wall with you two when like you're about to get a feature out or something like that of one of your products.
I think firstly, being a founder also within a niche, I think it can probably be quite lonely for a lot of people. I think for a lot of people, and I think I'll get onto Alex in a sec, but I think it's for a lot of my friends that don't know recruitment, let alone startup world, let alone foundership, what I do is entirely alien to them. They don't understand it, let alone sort of resonate with what the challenges could be. So I think, and coming back to Alex, because she sees those same challenges, same problems, we're solving for different issues in the market, but because she sees those, I think she can empathize so well with the different stages in the journey and the companies that are relatively similar stages, right? We've the first round that we raised, when we first met, was similar amounts of money, so you can feel, you can share those pains and also the solutions, and you can come up with different ideas. I'm not very creative. Alex is phenomenally creative. So there's areas in which we can help each other. I like numbers and, data and stuff like that. And I can sort of, help with those things. And, we don't always talk about RecTech.
Really? Well, I'm so disappointed.
I know. No, we do, sometimes we'll have a road trip and we'll spend an hour or two, and before you know it, we've come up with, I don't know, thoughts or ideas for something. But Alex is incredible and understanding too, in terms of what it actually takes to go through that process as well. So yeah, we both said when we met, we're both founders, both in the industry, we probably shouldn't get together because, what time do we have? That theory was mutually decided not to happen.
It absolutely works. It really does work. And I think you'll only fuel each other's success because you're both just naturally successful people. You've got this aura about you, and as a couple, that is just absolutely amplified even more. So yeah, I was so delighted. I was like, of course they're together. That makes so much sense right now. So yeah, I'm really, really happy about that. So what does the future look for you to kind of, what was it like personally? Do you have any kind of personal goals or things that are going on at the moment?
Yeah, I can't pick anything, but Venti. I think that's the goal.
It's a great answer. That's a fair point, actually. Yeah.
Cameron's having a great time. Him and Alex are going on road trips. You're just like, I'm just stuck here in the office building this company.
No, I think at least for me, it's Venti. Like whenever I can, family whenever I can, and in between trying to stick some gym sessions, and that's life now. I do see Venti keep growing, being successful.
Yeah.
And I really enjoying doing it. So for me, just I'm in the present, quite enjoying it.
Yeah, I think the same. So with me, it's a great point actually. Yeah, you feel present. You feel the issues of the day. Sometimes actually, someone will ask me, what are you doing in, I don't know, tomorrow afternoon? Couldn't tell you. I genuinely couldn't. You're in the moment and you're facing those things as opposed to kind of thinking ahead and planning. And I don't really know how I've got there. There might even be something I need to solve for, but I think just being present is important. And yeah, life after Venti isn't really thought about much.
There's nothing wrong with that. Be like a dog, live in the now. And that's probably why you're so happy all the time, Cameron. You thought about the future too much. You'd probably you would probably be rocking in the corner. Yeah, brilliant. And you are both very smart, and the way that you articulate situations and the way that you communicate, I think, is absolutely on point. So I'm so happy and grateful that you came on the show. And I'd love for some of that now just to help other listeners. So give us your kind of words of wisdom. Is there a particular skeleton that's hiding behind a door in the founder journey that absolutely took you down? Or is there something that you did brilliantly or not so well that you could maybe tell us about to help other people on the same journey?
I think I probably got two, and I'll rattle through them pretty quick. I think the first thing is to trust your gut more. I think as founders, you are almost trained to, listen to your users, listen to your customers. And I think you should still do that, but still keep a validation framework of what you're actually building. I think for us, we listen to our users so much to create Venti. And then when it came to feature development, we only needed to listen to one user, and we didn't take that to other users to say, do you like this idea or should you? So we lost all idea of validation for features, and we ended up building a lot of things by halves and didn't properly go down that route. And I think in our minds, we had the gut feeling that was overridden by the fact that this feature was, from a user or from a customer. So I would say probably trusting your gut, but keeping validation. If you are going to build things people are asking for, make sure it works for the wider market and the rest of the customer base.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come back to conviction. I think you can't do it if in that as starting on startup, but if you don't have strong conviction, and you have to keep looking for someone to basically kill the conviction. And I think the other, and this is quite vague, but I think the other tip is maybe less vague, but try to get as many potential customers on calls. And if you can't get them, just it's not going to happen. So it means you don't have the go-to market. It means you don't know how to even sell a free chat. So probably it's a no-go. Yeah, some work to do.
Really good early sign of maybe you're barking up the wrong tree if no one actually wants to talk to you about what it is that you're building without you even trying to sell it to them. Absolutely really good advice. And I think some of the founders that fail, and let's face it, unfortunately there are lots of them, some of them then come back and absolutely smash it, but businesses that fail maybe have just ploughed in with an idea that they thought was great, or that an investor thought was great, or whatever, and have missed that really important part of just testing the water before they go out to, or they're too quick to try and commercialize the product. And actually feedback is where you that's more valuable than cash, isn't it, in those early days, just getting advice from people as to whether they put their hand in the pocket for it.
And maybe I'll go last point, but I think the last point is who you're going to go to this journey. I wouldn't do it without people I know, trust, I think if I had to do it myself, probably I would start myself and then hire people, because the risk of starting it with someone that is the wrong person, and just too risky, too dangerous. So yeah, I think just do it with the right people or do it yourself.
Great. And as much as it is a SaaS business and it's a software business, I think you are part of this product. People know you guys and they know you. This is why I asked you both to come on together, not separately, because you are the product. And I know there's 3 of you, but I tend to see you 2 more because you've got the other one locked in a cupboard building stuff. But yeah, so I absolutely agree that's so authentic. But like Tom and Tom from Higher Aura as well, people see them and they're really bought into them. So I think it's a real smart, even though it's probably not intentional, the way that you have come together as founders has actually become part of the reason that people will want to buy your product.
Yeah.
Not the whole reason, because if it was rubbish, they wouldn't buy it. They just say, you're nice, but I'm not going to buy. But it's definitely really, really great advice, Itamar. Thank you.
I think the final thing, this is quite a cool story about how sort of Venti came about. And this is more so if you're a founder looking to build a company, the decision of at what point do you turn away or turn back? Because there you'll have them and you do things and you'll say, am I getting a signal that this is not the right market or thing? But when we went through the Antler Accelerator, you go through sort of a stage and it's called the idea killing framework. So if you're trying to pitch an idea or a company, you will go through a framework that's designed to kill it. And off the back of that, we went away and over the course of a weekend came up with 100 other ideas of sort of companies that we could build and problems that we could solve. And the natural resolution after all of that was we still landed on Venti. We looked at 100 other ideas and we still landed on Venti. And I remember going back and we had a session with our coach at Antler, who was brilliant. And you get to the end of that session, we're red in the face. BD is such a problem for recruitment. It's the number 1 issue in 10 years. You have to believe us, and I don't get it. And I remember we all sort of were almost laying on the floor of the roof terrace in an Aldgate East office, sort of looking at the sky, thinking, what have we got to do?
Yeah.
And we could see the problem, and some others couldn't. But I guess the point is, when you have investors saying they don't get it, when you have the ability to look at other issues and some of them look interesting, I guess you can kill that idea, and there's so many different ways in which you can turn around on that idea. But that's the one thing I remember. It's just lying down on that roof terrace.
Yeah, vividly.
Yeah, vividly.
What a wonderful image to leave everybody on. Just imagine that. Was it a summer's day though? I mean, at least give us a light. Yeah. Like the walls were closing in slowly, like Star Wars. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, guys. It's been so lovely to chat to you. I am 100% sure that people will want to reach out to you guys. Some of them will want to buy your product like now. And some will probably just want to carry on the conversation around your journey and kind of just help build their network of founders. I know that I don't need to ask you if that's okay, because you're lovely guys, and I'm sure that you'd be more than happy to share your words of wisdom with others that are on a similar path. But I can't wait to see where this goes. I wish I'd have invested. Devastated. But maybe next round. Yeah. But thank you so much. I'll let you get on with your very, very busy lives now, and we'll all see you soon.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, Pat.